We had no money left. All of our employees were already fired. We were running in unemployment benefits in Germany. We were sleeping in a tent beside the pilot plant to still improve and get the pilot plant running for our customer. We didn't know what to do.
How did you get this turnaround?
We nearly sold the company for 150,000 euros back then. That was not an opportunity that we could do. I called everyone I had in my phone book and I basically bootstrapped. I took 10,000 euro loans and we had a research project grant from the German state, our first research project. So we gave it one shot, one opportunity. And with this money, we knew we had to build the second version of our pilot plant that has to run and has to work. Otherwise, we wouldn't be here today.
Hello and welcome to Let's Talk About Tech, your podcast on venture capital and private equity, brought to you by Venionaire Capital, the entrepreneurial partners. It's my great pleasure to introduce you today to Marco Karber, founder and CEO of AES, Autonomous Energy Systems. Great to have you, Marco.
Thank you, Berthold. Thanks for having me.
Marco, I'm always curious, what was your path into entrepreneurship? Tell us a little bit about your story.
So I was born in Bavaria, Germany, in a very rural town. I graduated then and went to Aachen to study. And I got to Aachen and I didn't have any entrepreneurial background, so no connections yet. And I started my first part-time job at a freshly founded company of an ex-CEO of ThyssenKrupp. And there I had my first sales experience. So I had to do sales as a part-time student, and it was a catastrophe. I didn't sell anything, but I got to know all the experience of founding a company and what it means and the struggle behind it. So I was hooked. I finished my degree in mechanical engineering and then studied in chemical engineering. And then I met my co-founder Andres, and we studied together for the last exams that we took. And there we got, we brainstormed a lot on ideas together, on what we could found. And we had one idea, the pyrolysis of mixed plastic waste that we could not see anywhere, that it's already being done. So we jumped right in and said, okay, we will found the next big chemical company. And that was the very short version of how I got there. But it was a lot of struggle to get even there, because as a young student with no network and no background in the family or in a personal network with entrepreneurial spirit, you have to learn a lot of new things. You have to be open to new experiences and not go too far into the mindset of an engineer. Okay, I will graduate and then go to a big chemical corporation. So you have to be a bit more open-minded to those new experiences on the way.
What did your family stakeholders say when you became an entrepreneur? Did they like the idea, or were they scared that you now are crashing your life?
Oh, that was a very hard discussion with my wife back then. When I was at my last exams and we were really happy we did it, we studied, and now we can go work and earn some money, right? And then I sat her down and told my wife, Lisa, I want to start my own company. And you can imagine the frustration behind it, that, oh my God, now what's the path behind it? How long will it take? You're not earning anything. How will you make money at the beginning? She calmed down. And then we just started with no network, no knowledge. We just jumped right in, green behind the ears. And then we just applied for, I had my first talk that I went out with this idea. And I just contacted the VC, the venture capital company in Aachen, and I had my first talk about the idea with the VC in Aachen. So it was quite a mess back then. And then we applied for funding, didn't get it. It was we struggled the first 15 months of the company. And looking back, we thought that it would go much faster and smoother than it actually did.
Yeah, usually, entrepreneurs tell me very often that they had this, I would say, picture, right, of them becoming really fast successful. And then everybody tells me that it takes much longer, it takes more time, and that when you're successful, everybody congratulates you, but nobody's really interested in the struggle that lies behind you. Do you have some stories that you really remember from this time when it was really hard? I mean, you're obviously very successful today, but what were those stories that you will always remember and maybe tell your grandchildren once?
So back in 2022, in 2021, we built our first prototype. I sold the prototype, the pilot plant, and then we got into talks with VCs for another round of funding, but we ran out of money. We had one VC. The contract was ready to be signed. Only the CEO of the company had to sign the contract, and he didn't. So we had no money left. All of our employees were already fired. We were running in unemployment benefits in Germany. We were sleeping in a tent beside the pilot plant to still improve and get the pilot plant running for our customer. And we didn't know what to do. So
I can imagine. How did you get this turned around?
We nearly sold the company for 150,000 euros back then. And that was not an opportunity that we could do. Mm-hmm. So I called everyone I had in my phone book, and I basically bootstrapped. I took 10,000 euro loans, and we had an research project grant from the German state, Pyro VC, our first research project. We gathered about 140,000 euros, and we took a bank loan of over 200,000 euros. So we gave it one shot, one opportunity. And with this money and the research grant, we knew we had to build the second version of our pilot plant that has to run and has to work. Otherwise, we wouldn't be here today.
And obviously today, I mean, you're very successful. How many of your reactors do you have in place? And how does the system work? What makes AES special?
So, first of all, our reactor transforms mixed plastic waste. So a waste stream that is currently being incinerated. It's burned. It cannot be recycled. And we transform this plastic into an oil. The oil then gets sold back to chemical companies, and the chemical corporations make plastics back out of the oil again. So we are really closing the loop of non-recyclable plastics.
So this is truly circular,
yes,
even though it involves the raw material oil again.
Yes, because as the plastics are currently burned and emitting the CO2 into the atmosphere, we can keep the CO2, the carbon chains in the loop and do it over and over again with only a fraction of emissions that there currently are.
And how is the quality of the oil? Could you use that in a refinery, or is it only used for plastics again?
It's used in refineries, in the last part of the refinery. So the oil quality is so good that you don't need to put it into the crude oil area of the refinery. You only have to put it into the last step of the refinery where they make the ethylene and propylene out of it. So the foundation molecules for plastics.
And in terms of efficiency, so let's say out of 1 ton of plastic waste, how much oil can you get out?
We have a conversion rate, so from plastic waste to oil, of about 70 to 75%.
That's amazing. Is this in comparison to other chemical recycling methods better, or how does it compare?
So in typical mechanical recycling from the yellow bag in Germany, you have recycling from top quality products of about 18%.
Mm-hmm.
Then another third, so 30%, are downcycled. So you can't use it for really new plastic products. And about half of all the plastics in the yellow bag are currently burned. So even if we would compete with mechanical recycling, which we don't do, we would be better than it is today.
So sustainable chemical recycling then would be a claim that I should use for your company.
Yes, it's definitely sustainable, circular, and emission saving.
And how many like really harming chemicals do you use in the process? What do you need to convert plastics into oil? How does this process work?
Mm-hmm. So our reactor is about the size of 3 meters long, 2 meters high. It fits in
like a shipping container?
Like a shipping container, exactly. And the reactor only uses heat. So you might know it from a pyrolysis oven in your kitchen, where the oven gets hot and then the leftovers are cooked away. We use basically the same process. We make it really hot, over 500 degrees Celsius, and then the plastics decomposes into smaller components. So it transforms back into oil, because all the plastics that we are using today are made from oil. So we just transform it back into oil, and we are not using any chemicals in this process. So it's only heat, and the process is airtight. So we don't have any critical problems that oil or chemicals are leaving the system. It's airtight, it's running continuously, and the only thing that gets out of the system is the oil and some leftover ashes. That's basically it. So a very clean process, a smooth process to handle because it's small. We are building small-scale reactors. You also could build pyrolysis reactors really large with kilotons of throughput. But our reactor is aimed at a throughput of up to 350 kilogram a day. Mm-hmm. In a chemical perspective, this is really tiny. And our reactor is aimed for industrial partners so they can use their waste at the production site directly at our plant. So you don't need all the waste logistics behind it and the separation processes. So every industrial corporation that is producing some kind of plastics or composites that has plastic waste at their facility can use our plant.
So let's say I have a production facility and I produce constant plastic waste as part of the process, right? There's many companies out there that have this issue. What is my advantage of an industrial business to have one of those decentralized units on my plant?
Mm-hmm. So the first thing is the disposal costs are really high at the moment. You've got to buy CO2 certificates, and the average is about 200 to 400 euros per ton of waste to get rid of it. And then it's burned and emitting CO2. So now the companies have to balance their CO2 emissions via EU regulations. It's coming up in the next years with scope 1, 2, 3. Mm-hmm. And the waste is calculated in the scope 3 emissions. Mm-hmm. So using our plant, they save the disposal costs. They get a fraction of the oil revenue because the oil is worth money, as it's a value that goes back into the chemical chain. And they are saving CO2 in the scope 3 emissions. So they can only win with this new technology.
Is there any side effects as, I don't know, gas they can use within the production or heat out of the reactors?
We have a small side stream of pyrolysis gas that's not condensing back to oil. And we use that in a combined heat and power plant. It gets a fraction of the products, the gas gets burned. And from this energy, we make electricity and heat. And the heat can be used for process heat for the customer. And the electricity that is produced there is taken up by our plant. So it runs with nearly no outside electricity.
So your system is fully autonomous then in this cycle and doesn't need extra energy input even?
A bit of external energy is still needed. So it's not 100% cut off from the outside. Yes.
So, and in terms of profitability, right? I mean, a business is always only a business, right? If somebody pays for it and if you actually have a margin on it. How is the business case? How long does it take that such a machine amortizes for me as an industrial client, if I would be one?
So that's very depending on your individual costs of your different streams. So if a customer has, for example, 300 euros per ton of waste disposal costs, then it takes about 4 to 6 years for the amortization period. When the customer or the industrial partner has a lot of waste, and we can set up more than one reactor, then with economy of scale, so more reactors is better for the amortization period.
Okay, and your best company or your best client did amortize then in what, 1 year, 2 years?
In the best case, it can be with subsidies. You can apply in Germany for green recycling subsidies up to 30%. It could go down to 1.8 years.
Oh, wow. That's efficient. And in terms of geolocation, currently you're only deploying in Germany, Austria. I know that there's some projects in the pipeline in the European Union. Would this also be a topic that could be used in Africa, in Middle East? Is this something where you are independent in terms of scale, or do you need individual certifications or country-specific applications to adapt?
We started in the most complicated country you can imagine to build plants in Germany, heavily regulated. So we thought, when we can make it in Germany, then we can set up this plant all around the world.
If you can make it in Germany, you can make it everywhere.
Yes, exactly.
Okay.
And that's exactly the goal that we have at AES. We start locally in Germany with the first plant projects. And then we roll it out inside the EU and later on all around the world. It's one of our goals to clean up the plastic waste that is accumulated on all the beaches, for example. It's just a mess. All the plastics that's there. We are already in contact with some NGOs that are cleaning up the beaches per hand. And they are gathering tons and tons of plastic, but they don't know what to do with it. And we could install our small-scale pyrolysis plants directly at the site where they are cleaning up the beaches and then make oil back out of it again. So
and the sand and pollution, so dirt on the plastics would not harm the process?
Dirt, sand, all the minerals are separated within the reactor. So the minerals go into the ash fraction, and the oil is then separated. So that is no hindrance. We are already working with plastic waste in Germany in the industry that's dirty and mixed and has some qualities why it has to be incinerated. So we are already working on the worst kind of plastic waste you can imagine.
That's impressive. So you have this vision of cleaning up the planet, make it, make the plastic waste go back into a circular process. What is in for you? What is your vision? I've heard once that you said, I want to become the largest green oil king of the world.
that's exactly the goal from AES. It's in the chemical recycling area. There are currently different approaches. So pyrolysis is one of it. You can use different chemicals to separate the plastics. You can use enzymes or bacteria that decomposes plastics. So there's a lot of things going on, but one thing is for sure. We have million and million of tons of plastic waste in the oceans, at the beaches. In Europe, you have 26 million tons of plastic waste per year. No one can imagine 26 million tons of waste, but it's basically a middle-sized lake, sea in Europe that's filled every year with plastic waste, and we have to clean it up. There's no path around it. Otherwise, we will swim in plastic waste in 10, 20 years. So the chemical recycling area, so sustainable chemical recycling area, will be the next multi-billion-dollar market in the world. And I'm an engineer, so it's only solvable through hardware. No software can get the plastic out of the system. The engineers are asked to build the technologies that can clean up the world, and AES will play a crucial role in that.
That's a great vision. Given the fact that it's driven by regulators, right, and that the incumbent industry of recycling is huge, how do you convince them to partner with you? Because, I mean, this huge industry, you won't just tackle and take over, I assume.
So on the regulatory side, we are always directly in contact with regulatory officers, and we are very open with what we do and what we have planned. And as we are aiming to fulfill the EU Green Deal goals, for example, and improve the recycling rate, reduce CO2 emissions, all the necessary steps are done from the regulatory side, but often it is a bit of discussion and to get the person you're talking to understand that it's not just another chemical process that you're building up. You're really trying to be a benefit to everyone involved, for the industrial companies, for the CO2 emissions, to get recycling and circular oil back into the stream so you have less dependence on crude oil from Middle East, for example. So we try to make it a win-win situation for all partners involved.
But I can tell you our friends in the Middle East are working hard on getting more sustainable processes. They're working hard on circular economy. So I would assume, right, that they don't see this as competition. I would assume that they think this is an advantage in technology that they might want to look at that. If somebody's listening, reach out to me. But this is really something I'm very serious and cautious about. This part of the world, right, is innovating very fast and has a tendency to partner internationally. What I meant, and let me rephrase that with the question, is this pull from the market. So the regulator demanding the Green Deal, right? The incumbent players, so the current industry, the current recycling industry, obviously is getting a bit disrupted by your system. How do you get them to partner with you?
So in this field that we are operating in, there won't be only one big technology company that is dominating the market. It will be I think about a dozen of companies focusing on different areas. So, for example, the big chemical players are already trying to build large-scale pyrolysis plant. We are focusing on the smaller sources of waste stream, industrial partners, beaches, everywhere that's producing a side stream for them. So we are partnering up because we have a totally different business approach. We are small-scaled. not locally focused, but decentralized with our small-scale plants, and they are centralized with a big pyrolysis factory at a chemical site. So they are very open to work together. As it is such a new market, there's no established player yet. So everyone is having discussions and talks about new technological ideas. And as of now, we are working with, we are in contact with nearly all big chemical corporations on the different approaches. And there's so much plastic waste. It will take quite some time to get all the plants necessary to get done with it. And even if we do, so the crude oil area is still necessary, I think. Even if we re-oil all the plastic in the world that's currently burned, it's only a fraction of the amount of crude oil that we are taking out of Earth. So,
so obviously, I mean, the world in general still has to change and improve in terms of renewable energy.
Yes.
I see that. For the future, as you envision it, what's next? What's the big thing that is happening besides, this chemical recycling improving and everybody kind of working on this? What's the next big thing?
So the next big thing coming in this area will be a struggle to find the right technology that is working most efficiently for the area employed. So in the next 3 years, we will see the first plants in the chemical recycling sector up and running. From big scale plants, we already have 2 plants sold and commissioned and running. They will pop up, and then it will be a race to get to the market. So in about 3 to 8 years, then we will have the struggle to gather the waste streams. Then the expansion phase will start, and that's something I'm really looking forward to, because then we will see the change coming to the system. So in about 10 to 15 years, we will see million tons of oil produced from plastics. And then when it's done inside the EU, I think EU will be the first ones to do it, actually. We don't miss this opportunity, EU, please. And then it will get exported to the rest of the world, to India, to Asia, because they too obviously have problems with their lakes that are full of plastics. And in 20 years, I want to see that we have no plastic waste in the environment, because it's value. When it's a value, then you can work with it. But as of now, it's just burned. And
wouldn't that be a great vision if you dump plastic and you earn money for it? That would be something.
Like the PET bottles. Send us your plastic waste and get a reward for it.
Yeah, makes a lot of sense. I hope you got inspired. I hope you learned something new today in our podcast episode with Marco Karber from AES, Autonomous Energy Systems. It was great having you guys. Please don't forget to subscribe to our channel. You will really support us in our work here. I'm looking forward to see you in the next episode. Thank you for tuning in. Bye-bye.